Hey there, Nia here. Hopefully, you have been tracking through this series with me as we talk about real issues in education. Let's get ready to chat it up. At some point, the conversation about education quietly shifted. Not about how students learn, not about what helps them grow, but about what counts. And more importantly, who gets to decide. Because in today's system, learning isn't defined by the people who witness it every day. It's defined by people far removed from classrooms. Benchmarks, cut scores, proficiency levels, growth targets, numbers that look clean on paper but rarely capture what learning actually looks like. Teachers know learning isn't linear. A student can struggle for months and then suddenly make a breakthrough. A student can understand content deeply but freeze under time conditions. A student can grow enormously and still not meet a predetermined benchmark. But when learning is reduced to a number, those realities disappear, and teachers are expected to accept that. Here's the uncomfortable truth. When we ask who decides what counts as learning, the answer is rarely teachers. Teachers aren't asked to define mastery. They're told what mastery looks like. Teachers aren't asked how growth shows up. They're given a scale. Teachers aren't asked what students need next. They're handed pacing guides and deadlines. Learning becomes something to be measured, not understood. And once that happens, the conversation ends before it should even begin. Because numbers don't ask follow-up questions. They don't ask why. They don't ask what happened. They don't ask what support is missing. They simply label. And labels are powerful. A number can override months of work. A score can outweigh daily effort. A category can define a student long after the test is over. And here's where the contradiction becomes impossible to ignore. We say we want students to believe in redemption. We talk about growth, second chances, learning from mistakes. But then we hold students hostage to a single defining moment. One test, one score, one snapshot. We have created an environment where failing a single assessment can carry a greater penalty than a student bullying another student. Think about that. Academic failure is treated as permanent. Behavioral harm is often treated as temporary. And teachers are left trying to explain why one mistake defines you and another doesn't. They see students who are growing but still labeled below. They see students who passed but didn't truly understand. They see learning happening in real time while the system insists it didn't count. And then teachers are expected to explain that contradiction to students, to parents, to themselves. This is where frustration turns into silence. Because when teachers challenge the definition of learning, they're often told they're being subjective, too emotional, too close to the work, as if proximity to students is a flaw, as if seeing learning up close makes you less qualified to define it. But distance has consequences. When learning is defined far away, it becomes rigid. It becomes disconnected from context, disconnected from trauma, disconnected from instability, disconnected from real lives. And the people closest to that reality are expected to adjust, not question the definition itself. So teachers adapt, they translate, they cushion, they explain away scores that don't match what they know is true. They do the emotional labor of holding two realities at once, what the data says and what they see every day. And that's exhausting because learning is not a finish line, it's a process. But when someone else decides what counts, learning stops being a journey and becomes a verdict, and teachers are left trying to reconcile the two. This episode isn't about rejecting measurement. It's about asking a necessary question that keeps being skipped. If learning is happening in classrooms, why are the people inside them rarely trusted to define it? Because until that changes, we will keep mistaking measurement for meaning, and students and teachers will keep paying the price. Before we decide what counts as learning, we might want to listen to the people who spend their lives watching it happen. But I guess that would make too much sense now, wouldn't it? Let's chat it up in the comments.